Tag TV and Tag Radio. Be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. Whether you call it onshoring, insourcing, homeshoring, fact is, domestic sourcing is on the rise in the United States, and it's impacting both U.S. employment opportunities while at the same time helping thousands of companies realize cost savings and improved productivity. Did you know that the U.S. is becoming an attractive sourcing location for IT and business services? That the movement to domestic outsourcing models is accelerating as organizations take advantage of the many benefits domestic delivery models offer, including increased productivity, fewer travel costs, and less management overhead than offshoring. Greetings, everyone. It's Friday, August 2nd, 2013, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. Just what do you know about what experts are calling the single most exciting and compelling business topic today? Domestic sourcing of IT services in America. From TAG's own rural sourcing with its development center headquartered in Augusta to global leaders like Ahilia, HCL, and onshore outsourcing, the IT world is rapidly building momentum to find the onshore ultimate alternative to outsourcing IT services. And that expansive economic development trend has led to a first-of-its-kind inaugural conference right here in Atlanta focused on U.S. domestic sourcing this September 10th through 11th. It's called Momentum 2013. Come and hear firsthand from industry analysts and policy experts about the trends and ongoing initiatives and incentives already underway to support the continued growth of domestic sourcing and learn how companies and government agencies are already capitalizing on its many benefits. Up to the Tech Talk live from India, conference organizer and CEO of Ahilia, Amrita Joshi. Amrita Global Services experience spans the entire spectrum of roles, from buyer to consultant to service provider. A partner at Conscient, she assisted Tier 1 and Tier 2 service providers. She served as a director at Neo IT, a leading global sourcing advisory firm, and as VP of Global Sourcing at IndyMac Bank, a former consultant at Anderson Consulting, an investment banker at Credit Suisse, and president of EA Cap, Malaysian IT services firm. At Ahilia, which she founded in 2007, her goal is helping global services companies transform go-to-market strategies into effective marketing programs. It's a Tech Talk on the exciting and compelling business trend of domestic sourcing of IT in America and exclusive insights into Momentum 2013, the industry's inaugural event to be held right here in Atlanta with its organizer and global industry leader, CEO of Ahilia, Amrita Joshi. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Amrita, welcome to Tech Talk.
Hello, thank you.
Well, I think most of our listening audience will know that the U.S. is really becoming an attractive sourcing location for IT and business services, but I think they're probably not aware of the momentum, to use a term, the movement to domestic outsourcing that is actually benefiting the domestic delivery model by increased productivity, fewer travel costs, less management overhead than offshoring. The event, Momentum 2013, obviously, that's going to be a concentrated focus on all of those activities and how to benefit from them. Maybe go into a little bit of detail about the event and what our listeners can expect.
Sure. Well, Momentum 2013 it was really the first national conference focused on domestic outsourcing of services. We planned this event. There's been a lot of activity and growth in domestic sourcing in the last couple of years. And there was no focused event to discuss this, and actually very little research actually done on this topic as well, which we're hoping to bring about some more research on this area. So it's really the overall objective is to bring more awareness to the U.S. domestic outsourcing industry and to educate both corporations and government agencies on the demand that's there for U.S. outsourcing and how to incorporate it into their overall outsourcing strategy.
I mentioned earlier in the introduction that you're the CEO of Ahilia, and I'd really like to give our audience a little sense of perspective of where some of your thought leadership is coming from. Tell us a little bit about what the company does. One of the things I really am intrigued by is the concept of differentiated market identities.
Right. Well, Ahilia's really, started out over 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, on very focused on the outsourcing industry, marketing for the outsourcing industry. And what we noticed at that time was that the vast majority of companies, and especially the international ones, the offshoring companies, really didn't understand how to market themselves independently and create those marketing identities, especially in the B2B space. So we formed this company to really be focused on helping those companies market, and have now, of course, expanded to really helping not just the offshore companies, but really all of IT services and BPO, which definitely do have trouble differentiating themselves from one another. And so we work with them really from a content standpoint to, really kind of look at what makes each of these companies different, and how to best communicate that to their customers and prospects.
To give our listening audience a perspective, I think they might be entertained in knowing, where are you today?
I am in Goa, which is India, which is a resort in the middle of the monsoon on vacation.
Really? I actually thought you were working. That's the only reason why I brought it up. I didn't realize that you were on vacation. Well, thank you for taking time out of your vacation. Well, let's go again back to the idea that this is the single most comprehensive industry event, one of a kind, first of its kind. I think probably get into some of the highlights as far as the ins and outs of what people can expect at the event in terms of the program and the speakers.
Sure. Well, we're really excited because we really are having kind of a variety of, breadth, of course, of different types of people in the domestic outsourcing and government area, and very varied opinions as well. So our first keynote is Ron Hira, who is the co-author of Outsourcing America, and he's an expert on outsourcing. He's been in the press a lot lately on and advising Congress on immigration policy. So he should be a really interesting and timely talk that morning. Our other keynote is actually the CIO of Georgia, Calvin Rhodes, who is currently running the largest IT transformation state-run project right now. And I think he's going to be very interesting. He's from a corporate background, and he's going to talk about, how he decided what to outsource, what he was going to keep here in the United States, what was going to be kind of allowed to go offshore. So I think that's going to be a very interesting real-life case study. We have a number of other case studies from buyers of outsourcing services. We're going to talk about their experiences with domestic sourcing. And we're also really lucky to have Phil First here from HFS Research at the conference. And he's going to give us a summary of his latest research on domestic sourcing. I think he's done one of the largest studies on the demand piece of it. And he's also going to moderate a panel of buyers to talk about their views on domestic sourcing. So I think those are really some of the key highlights of the conference.
One of the focus, obviously, today is on Momentum 2013. It's the inaugural conference for U.S. domestic sourcing. For our listening audience and our TAG members, note that mark the date, September 10th and 11th, and it's right here at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia. Maybe go into a little bit now about what types of companies should consider attending the event.
Sure. Well, definitely, anyone in the technology industry. I mean, I think it's a very appropriate event for TAG members, anyone who kind of cares about the future of technology innovation in the United States, which really can run, varied companies types, large enterprises large enterprises who are maybe considering incorporating more U.S. outsourcing into their global strategy. We see a lot of small to medium businesses who need to outsource services but are looking at alternatives to offshore because maybe the type of work, the speed, or their scale. And so I think this is a good way to see get some visibility to companies that are doing domestic outsourcing. We're really also excited to kind of bring in the government aspect. We have a lot of economic development agencies and organizations who are attending and sponsoring, and we really see the need to educate more of the government agencies on what services are and how to promote services companies. So we're very excited to have them and to just show them that there are a lot of benefits and how do you actually attract some of these companies into their locales. So excited to have them as well. And then, I think one of the biggest things we've seen, just to kind of go back in terms of the momentum of its domestic sourcing, is there are a lot of service providers who are setting up delivery centers. I mean, I think you can't go 2 weeks in the news without seeing another company that's setting up a U.S. delivery center, whether they are originally offshore or originally U.S.-based companies. So, service providers who are interested in expanding more in the U.S. Is another good target audience for the conference.
And one of the things that I think all of us are impacted by is obviously going from analog to digital and the impact of clouds and high-speed connectivity, broadband, apps, and the whole thing that I think all of us deal with, regardless of the technology or the company that we're involved with. Talk a little bit about, it's an interesting topic when you talk about government agencies and economic development, when you're dealing with borders versus no borders. Obviously, when you're dealing with clouds and the capability of a converged global communication process that allows for almost you to be anywhere doing anything with anyone, how would it play in an economic development environment that's bordered by a government agency?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think what you're asking is that there is, when you look at the global delivery model and how work gets done and outsourced, there's still a significant amount of work that actually ends up taking place in the U.S. on-site projects. Give an example, an ERP implementation. I think at some points in the project, or a lot of the parts of the beginning of the project, 50% of the people are on-site. You just need that coordination. You need to understand the business process, et cetera. So there are, quite a few advantages and quite a amount of, different types of services that really are better done when when you're in closer proximity. And I think it's getting an understanding of this that's important. I think, people actually think that there is a lot of work offshore, but they don't realize how much of the services sector is still, especially in the technology spaces, actually still takes place in the U.S. And so I think that I say it for the lack of a better word, but that ignorance of not understanding how much of it is taking place, a lot of the government agencies don't really focus on the services sector or attracting the services sector, even though many times the same, a company with the same amount of revenue would have a much higher job creation potential if it was a services company than a manufacturing company, for example. And we see, as we go around and talk to different organizations and economic development agencies, that they're really excited about this, so they just don't have the knowledge about the industry.
I think one of the challenges, and it is hard to find the right vernacular when you talk about ignorance or knowledge or awareness. One of the things
lack of knowledge, really.
Really, one of the things that's happening in the United States, and it's probably something that you're more aware of on a global basis, is the build-out of broadband infrastructure. And one of the challenges that the government agencies have, even in trying to get subsidized grants and supporting some of those initiatives, is local regional planning commissions who deal with voters. And so what we're talking about is not necessarily even economic development or government leadership. It actually sometimes gets down to the individual voter who simply just doesn't understand, why are you outsourcing and can it be done here? And if you're not, can we create jobs? It's all about jobs. So obviously the time is perfect. When you talk about Momentum 2013, it couldn't be a better name. Certainly the activity that's happening is pretty exciting and compelling as far as being the business topic of the day. And yet there's still a whole lot of dialogue, a lot of education, a lot of thought leadership, and a lot of thought sharing that needs to be done. And certainly this event sounds like it's going to be the location to do it. Let's talk for one last question to cover for our listening audience would be, bottom line, give us from your perspective, I want to attend this. What's the benefit? What is my benefit going to be from participating in the event?
Right. Well, I think corporations definitely will just learn a lot more about growing demand for U.S. outsourcing, and I think a lot of the companies that have been doing offshoring for a while really just don't understand how to incorporate the U.S. domestic outsourcing piece into that mix. And so we're really doing a lot of focus on that, which just really has not been focused on. A lot of times you go to conferences, it's either or, you should offshore, you should not offshore, and they don't really understand how to integrate it. So I think that's going to be a really big benefit for those companies that are experienced in outsourcing. I think for economic development organizations, it's really going to be to educate them on the services sector and how to attract those companies into their locales. I think that's going to be the big benefit for them.
Well, again, to all of our TAG members, to our greater listening audience, the event is Momentum 2013. It's the inaugural conference for U.S. domestic sourcing. You need to mark your calendar. This is one that, no matter what you're involved in, it's a need-to-know, need-to-network type of an event. It's happening September 10th and 11th, and it's at the Hyatt Regency Hotel, Atlanta, Georgia. And obviously, MomentumAmerica.com is a location where you can get some more information on that. Amrita, thank you and I apologize for disrupting your vacation, but I would normally say taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today on Tech Talk, but it was a case of joining us from your vacation location. But thank you for joining us today.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you so much, Frank, for giving us the opportunity.